At the top level, the fastest player isn't the one with the quickest legs. He's the one with the fastest brain. And that is why players like Rodri and Busquets, they look effortless in chaos. They're not reacting to what's happening. They are already processing what is next. They're playing the game a split second ahead of everyone else on that pitch. And that is what makes them look calm. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to train that same skill, so the game stops feeling rushed and you start feeling ahead of it. Now, if you've ever felt like the game is flying past you, like you can see what's about to happen, but you can't quite get there in time, this is going to change that, because what the best players do isn't slow the game down. They speed their brain up. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to sharpen your brain so you can read the game quicker, react sooner, and create the calm that makes play look effortless. And if you want the full perception speed visualization routine that I use with my pro players, it is free in my newsletter, and there's a link in the description. Now, I'll remind you about this later, so you can grab it after the video if you want to train this properly. Now, my name's Mark Bowden. I'm a mental performance coach and I work mainly with Premier League and Championship players. I wrote the best-selling book, Use Your Brain, Raise Your Game, and I'm also the co-founder of the NXT Football Agency, where we represent elite players in the game. Now, the idea that we're talking about today is perception speed. It is something that I work with every single week with top professionals, because at the highest level, this is what separates good from great. When you control perception, you control time. Now, you've seen it 100 times. Rodri takes the ball under pressure and he turns and he releases in perfect rhythm. And Busquets is the same. He steps into a pocket, one touch, one look, and suddenly Barcelona were out. Now, they're not calm because the game is easy. They are calm because their brain is already half a second ahead of everyone else's. Now, most players, they're reacting to the game. The elite, they anticipate it. And that half a second difference creates the illusion of time. Now, neuroscientists call it temporal dilation, that sense that time has slowed down in high performance moments. Now, when your predictive systems, such as the visual and the motor parts of your brain, when these are highly tuned, they start forecasting what is coming next. And by the time that moment arrives, your brain has already prepared your response. That little head start, it feels like extra time. It's not magic, it is prediction. And the best players are not calm because they have time. They have time because they are calm. And these are the three layers that create that effect. Layer one is seeing more. So frequent and meaningful scanning will feed your brain more data to predict from. So every glance is a snapshot. The more snapshots that you take, the more accurate that your forecast becomes. Layer two is recognizing patterns. So experience now will link those snapshots together so that your brain starts predicting automatically. You're no longer reacting to movements, you're forecasting them. And then layer three is the flow state. Now, when the thinking brain stays quiet, those predictions, they run smoothly and almost unconsciously. That is when everything looks slower, clearer, and easier. Each of these layers will give you that small edge. Stack them together and you're half a second ahead. And at the elite level, that half a second is everything. It makes players look like they're controlling time. Now, I work with a Premier League midfielder. He'd just broken into the first team. And that step up from academy games and lower league games when he'd been out on loan, that gap was massive. And because of this, he constantly felt and looked rushed. In training, world class. In matches, chaos. Now, he told me, I can see what's about to happen, but by the time I move, it's gone. Now, we worked for about 6 solid weeks on perception conditioning, teaching his brain to process information faster and to stay calm under load. Now, a number of weeks later, his message after a match said it all. It's mad. It feels like I've got time again, like everyone has stopped playing so fast. Same player, same body, same speed, same level of opponent, completely different brain state. And that is the real advantage, and this is where most players never train. The part of the game that happens before the touch. And this is where I want you to pause and really think, how often do you actually train your brain for this part of the game? Because when you start doing it deliberately, that is when everything changes. And here is how you build it yourself. And now comes the exact framework that I coach players through to make the game feel slower and for them to feel sharper at the same time. Now, the first one is meaningful scanning. Now, most players turn their head. Elite players will see. Now, in your pre-match visualization, picture yourself scanning the pitch. But each time that you move your head, attach real meaning to it. Who is free? Where's the press coming from? What space has just opened up? You're not looking for the sake of looking or collecting random images. You are building pictures that your brain can predict from. That is what turns scanning into a real advantage. Now, if you're serious about playing like the top 1%, this is the stuff that they work on. Not just the physical drills, but perception conditioning. And that is the gap that most players never close. Now, secondly, is situational simulation. So before a game, mentally rehearse the patterns that you're going to face the most. So the press, the build-up shapes, the transitions. See these patterns unfolding and imagine your response. And this will then prime your predictive circuits. So when the same pattern appears for real, your brain recognizes it instantly. You're already a step ahead. And that is why players like Rodri always seem to find the right pocket before it even opens up. Now, if this is resonating, please hit that like button, as it helps to support my channel so I can create more content like this for you. So let's move on to the third one. That is predictive visualization. So during quiet moments, maybe traveling, warming up, recovery, visualize the game unfolding around you in real time. See the ball move, the press coming, maybe your teammates moving, space opening up. Now, don't just feel your own touch. Anticipate what is about to happen. Where does the next pass go? Which defender steps up? How does the play evolve 2 or 3 passes ahead? What you're training now is for your brain to recognize cues, body angles, movements, spacing. What is the signal that tells you what's coming next? Now, each time that you imagine the pattern before it happens, you strengthen the neural connections in your brain between what you see and how you act. And that is why when the real game unfolds, your brain already sees the picture. It's not reacting, it is remembering. And that is what makes these players like Rodri and Busquets look one step ahead. They've rehearsed the picture so many times that when it appears, it feels familiar. Now, what we need to recognize with all of this is the myth about calmness. And here is where most players go wrong. They think composure comes from slowing down. But at an elite level, the calmest players are often the quickest thinkers. Composure isn't the absence of speed, it is the control of it. So watch Busquets. Everything around him looks frantic, yet he is completely composed. And that's not because the game slows down for him. It's because he reads it earlier than everyone else. By the time others react, he has already shaped the play. Now, let's go real deep with this. When pressure rises, adrenaline within you will narrow your visual field. Literally, you see less of the pitch. And that's why high stress games feel faster. Your brain is treating pressure like a threat. If it can only see what is directly in front of it, it's not seeing the danger, the threat, or the opportunity until it enters this part of your vision. But when you train scanning and prediction, your brain learns that intensity is not danger, it's data. You stay calm, then your vision stays wide. You keep feeding your predictive system. And that is why the very best players, within high pressure moments, they feel slower. They're not overwhelmed. they're over-prepared. It's like widening the lens on a camera. Same scene, but you're capturing more of it per second. Now, every week, I work with pro players on all areas of their mental performance, but this is one of those areas that really changes everything. When a player sharpens their perception, the whole game starts to feel different. We train it like fitness, so mental sprints, visualization intervals, short, repeated reps of seeing, predicting, and responding. You don't need VR goggles or a sports science lab to do it. You just need awareness and repetition. Every time you scan with intention, every time you visualize with accuracy, every time you stay composed under pressure, you're building it, you're strengthening it within your brain. You're conditioning your brain to run faster whilst at the same time feeling calmer. Now, with the players that I work with, I've seen this shift change everything from timing and composure to consistency. And one of them even turned a stalling career into a move to one of the biggest clubs in Europe, simply by training how his brain processed the game. That is what happens when you start seeing faster than everyone else. Now, inside the Football Mind Gym, this is exactly what we train. Not theory, not motivation, but reps for your brain. Guided sessions that condition your perception, sharpen your instincts, and make this way of playing automatic. Now, the link to get onto the Football Mind Gym waitlist is also in the description below, because once you train this, when pressure hits, your body knows exactly what to do because your mind has already seen it. You start to notice things earlier, you make decisions cleaner, and you look calmer. Not because you're slower, but because your brain is faster. Now, here's the real mindset shift that ties it all together. The calmest version of you is not a different player. It is the same you, just with a brain that is ahead of the game instead of chasing it. Every time you visualize a pattern, you scan with meaning, or you stay composed under pressure, you are teaching your brain to predict and not to react. That is what separates average players from intelligent ones. And that is what makes elite football look effortless. You don't need to slow the game down. You need to train your brain to move faster. And when you do, everything around you starts to feel slower and calmer, simply because you're ahead of it. And if you want the exact perception speed visualization routine that I use with my Premier League players, you can get it for free. It's in my newsletter, and the link is in the description below. Now, once you've done that, watch my next video on overthinking. Overthinking is a massive issue for so many players, and in that video, I'll help you to condition it so it's no longer a problem for you.